I never expected to find the truth hidden in Ethan's phone that day. I had walked into our living room, feeling the warmth of the sun pouring through the window. But the moment I glanced at the screen, everything changed. There it was, a string of messages that shattered my world. My heart raced as I read the words, each one like a dagger piercing my chest. Who was she? Why did he say those things? My hands trembled, and I could barely breathe. I threw the phone down as if it burned my skin. "How could you do this to me?" I whispered, knowing he wasn't there to hear me. A wave of betrayal crashed over me, and I felt anger rise like a firestorm inside. Did he ever really love me? Or was I just someone to fill the silence in his life? As I paced the room, I could feel the tears welling up, but I fought them back. I had always been the delicate one in our marriage, the one who needed him. Why did I let him make me feel so small? I recalled the countless times he brushed off my opinions, the way he told me I was too sensitive. "You're fragile, Leora," he'd say with that patronizing smile. "You need me to take care of you." But I didn't need him. Not anymore. I stopped in front of the mirror, staring at my reflection. Who was I? A shadow of the woman I used to be. My mind raced back to my childhood, to dreams I buried under his expectations. I remembered the strong, fearless girl who climbed trees and dreamed of adventures. Where did she go? But now, something had shifted. I felt a flicker of determination igniting within me. Revenge? It started to seem like a possibility. The thought sent a shiver down my spine, but it also fueled me. I could no longer be the victim. I could plan, I could act, and I could take control. The fire inside me burned brighter. "Leora, are you okay?" A voice broke through my thoughts. It was my friend Mia, peeking in through the doorway. I quickly wiped my eyes and forced a smile. "Yeah, just a little tired," I lied. I couldn't let her see the storm brewing inside me. As she chatted about her day, I nodded, but my mind was elsewhere. What if I could show Ethan I wasn't the fragile woman he thought I was? What if I could become someone he feared? That idea sent a thrill through me. I needed a plan. I would not let this betrayal define my life. "What's up with you?" Mia asked, her eyes narrowing. "You seem different." Different? I was changing, and I didn't even know how to explain it. "Just thinking about some things," I replied vaguely. I could feel the weight of my secret pressing down on me. I needed to keep it hidden to protect this new spark of defiance that had ignited. That night, as I lay in bed, I stared at the ceiling, my heart racing with thoughts of revenge. I could almost see the path ahead of me. I would reclaim my strength. I would become the woman I had lost. I wouldn't just be Leora, Ethan's wife. I would be Leora, the woman who took charge of her life. A plan began to form. I would start small, maybe something simple like enrolling in a self-defense class. I could feel the anticipation building inside me as I imagined punching a heavy bag, channeling my anger into something constructive. I didn't want to feel weak anymore. I wanted to feel powerful. "Tomorrow," I whispered to the darkness, "I will take the first step." As I closed my eyes, a sense of determination washed over me. I was ready to fight back, not just against Ethan, but against the version of myself that allowed this to happen. I was ready to rise from the ashes of betrayal, fueled by the fire of revenge and the desire for freedom. Little did I know, this was just the beginning of my transformation. As the days passed after my discovery, I felt a spark within me, a fire that pushed me to take action. I enrolled in self-defense classes, a decision that surprised even me. When I walked into the gym for the first time, I felt a mix of excitement and fear. The smell of sweat and the sound of fists hitting pads filled the air. I was nervous, but I was also determined. "Hey there, are you new?" A cheerful voice pulled me from my thoughts. I turned to see a tall woman with bright blue hair and a welcoming smile. "I'm Mia. I teach the self-defense classes here." "Hi, I'm Leora," I replied, my voice shaking slightly. "I'm here to learn how to defend myself." Mia nodded, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "That's the spirit. You're in the right place. Let's get started." As the class began, I followed Mia's instructions, throwing punches and practicing kicks. With each movement, I felt my body growing stronger. It was exhilarating. I could feel the tension of my past slowly melting away with every strike. "Great job, everyone. Remember, it's not just about physical strength, it's about confidence too," Mia said, clapping her hands together. I could see the other women in the class smiling, and I couldn't help but smile too. I was part of something empowering. After a few weeks of training, I started to notice changes in myself. I stood taller and my heart felt lighter. I was reclaiming my strength, and I liked it. I had never felt this alive before. One evening, as I was packing my bag after class, I overheard a conversation between two women. "Did you see Leora? She's really improving," one said. "Yeah, she's not the same person she was when she started," the other replied. "I think she's finally starting to fight back." Their words struck a chord. I realized I was no longer just a victim. I was becoming a warrior. But then there was Ethan. He had started to notice the changes in me. One night, after a particularly intense training session, I came home feeling invincible. I walked into the living room, where Ethan was lounging on the couch, his eyes glued to the TV. "Hey," I said, trying to sound casual. He glanced at me, then back to the screen. "You're home late. Did you really need to spend that much time at the gym?" "Actually, yes," I replied, surprised by the defensiveness in my voice. "I'm learning to take care of myself." Ethan scoffed. "You've always been fragile, Leora. You're not going to change overnight." His words stung, but they also fueled my determination. I was changing, and I wanted him to see that. "Maybe you should start believing in my strength," I said, meeting his gaze. "I'm not the same woman you once knew." He shrugged, dismissing my words, but I could see a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. It made me feel powerful, like I had finally stepped out of the shadows of his manipulation. Yet, there was still a part of me that struggled with the morality of my revenge. As I trained harder, the voices in my head whispered doubts. Did I want to see him suffer, or was I just trying to find my own freedom? One night, while lying in bed, I stared at the ceiling, reflecting on my feelings. I thought about the man I had loved and the pain he had caused. "What do I really want?" I whispered to myself. "Is revenge the answer?" I closed my eyes, the weight of my thoughts settling in. It was a conflict I didn't have the answers to yet. But what I did know was that I was no longer the woman who would quietly accept betrayal. I was on a journey of awakening, and I would not turn back. With every punch I threw in the gym, I felt the chains of my past breaking. I was ready to embrace my strength, and I would not let anyone take that away from me, not even Ethan. The self-defense class had become a safe space for me, a place where I could sweat out my anger and frustration. Each punch I threw felt like a step away from the old Leora, the one who stood by while Ethan controlled every aspect of my life. I had just finished a round of kicks when I noticed a new face in the class. He was tall, with an easy smile and a confidence that drew my attention. His name was Jasper. "Nice kicks," he said, walking over to me after class. "You've got some serious power behind those." "Thanks," I replied, a bit shyly. "I'm still learning, though." Jasper nodded, his eyes sparkling with encouragement. "You're doing great. It takes time, but you're stronger than you think." His words lingered in my mind as I left the gym that day. I started to look forward to seeing him in class. Over the next few weeks, we trained together, and our friendship blossomed. Jasper was patient and kind, always ready to share tips on technique or offer a motivating word when I struggled. One afternoon, After an especially tough session, we sat on the gym floor, catching our breath. I could see the concern in his eyes as he looked at me. "You seem a bit distracted, Leora. What's on your mind?" I hesitated, unsure if I should share my thoughts. But there was something about Jasper that made me feel safe. "I've been thinking about revenge," I admitted. "I thought it would make me feel better after what Ethan did to me." Jasper's expression changed, his brow furrowing slightly. "Revenge can feel tempting, but it might not bring you the peace you're looking for." "I know," I sighed, "but I just want him to understand how much he hurt me. I want him to feel the way I felt." Jasper leaned closer, his voice gentle but firm. "What if I told you that true strength comes from healing, not hurting? You have the power to rise above this, Leora. Don't let him define your worth." His words hit me hard. I thought about how long I had let Ethan control my feelings, how I had spent so much time wishing for his pain instead of focusing on my own healing. "I've been so angry," I confessed. "But maybe I'm just tired of feeling like a victim." Jasper nodded, understanding in his eyes. "That's a big step. It's okay to feel angry, but don't let it consume you. You deserve more than that." I took a deep breath, contemplating his advice. "What do you think I should do instead?" "Focus on yourself," he suggested. "Invest your energy into things that make you happy. Surround yourself with people who lift you up. You won't find fulfillment in revenge, Leora. It's in self-love and growth." His words resonated with me. I realized that revenge would only keep me tied to Ethan, anchored in my past. I needed to break free. "You're right," I said slowly. "I've been so fixated on what he did that I forgot to think about what I want for myself." "Exactly," Jasper smiled. "You have the chance to rewrite your story. Make it about you." As the days passed, I found myself reflecting more on my motivations. I started to question if hurting Ethan would fill the void inside me. I couldn't shake the feeling that revenge might only lead to more pain. One evening after class, as we stretched, Jasper shared a piece of his own story. "I used to be lost after a bad breakup," he said, his voice low. "I thought revenge would make me feel better, but it only made me more miserable. I realized I needed to heal, to forgive, not for them, but for myself." His honesty struck a chord within me. "How did you do that?" I asked, genuinely curious. "It took time," he replied, "but I focused on what I loved: hiking, painting, spending time with friends. I learned to love myself again, and when I did, I found that I didn't need revenge. I found peace." Listening to Jasper, I felt a shift in my heart. I wanted that peace. I wanted to be whole again, not defined by the actions of someone who chose to hurt me. I smiled at Jasper, feeling a warmth spread through me. "I think I'm starting to understand. Thank you for believing in me." Jasper grinned back, and I could see the pride in his eyes. "You're on the right path, Leora. Just keep moving forward." As I left the gym that night, I felt lighter. The weight of my vengeful thoughts began to lift, replaced by a sense of hope. Maybe, just maybe, I could find strength in healing rather than revenge. And with Jasper by my side, I felt ready to embrace this new chapter of my life. The storm raged outside, lightning flashing across the sky like the chaos in my heart. I stood in front of the mirror, staring at my reflection, trying to gather my thoughts. This was the night I had been preparing for, the confrontation with Ethan. My hands trembled, but not from fear. I felt ready, fueled by the strength I had built over the past few months. I took a deep breath, reminding myself that I was no longer the weak woman he once knew. As I stepped into the living room, the sound of the rain pounding against the windows echoed my racing heart. Ethan sat on the couch, his usual smug expression replaced by a look of surprise when he saw me. "Leora, what's going on?" "You look different," he said, his voice laced with a mix of confusion and concern. I squared my shoulders, feeling the weight of my resolve. "We need to talk, Ethan." He shifted uncomfortably, running a hand through his hair. "Talk? About what? I thought we were past all this." Past all this? I couldn't help but scoff. "You think we can just ignore everything? The lies, the betrayal? I found your messages. You thought I wouldn't notice?" His face paled slightly, and he opened his mouth to respond, but no words came out. I took a step closer, my heart pounding. "You always treated me like I was fragile, like I was nothing without you. But not anymore. I've learned to fight back, and I'm not afraid of you." Ethan stood up now, anger flashing in his eyes. "You think you can just walk in here and confront me? You have no idea what you're talking about." "Don't I?" I shot back. "You have always manipulated me, Ethan, but I see you now. I see your insecurities, your weaknesses. You're not the man I thought you were." He laughed, but it was bitter and hollow. "You think you've changed? You're still the same person underneath. You won't really do anything." I felt a surge of emotion rise within me, but instead of allowing it to overwhelm me, I channeled it into my voice. "I'm not here to hurt you anymore. I'm here to find my own freedom." Suddenly, the storm outside matched the tempest in the room, thunder rumbling, like the unresolved tensions between us. "Freedom?" Ethan echoed, his voice wavering. "What does that even mean? You think you can just walk away from our life together?" "Yes," I said firmly. "I can walk away, and I will, but not to hurt you. I want to let go of the pain and the anger. I want to move forward without the weight of our past holding me down." He took a step back, his expression shifting from anger to vulnerability. "You think it's that easy? You think I don't care about you? I loved you, Leora." "You loved me?" I asked, my voice trembling with disbelief. "How could you love me when you were tearing me apart? How could you love me while you were with someone else?" The silence hung in the air, thick and heavy. I watched as Ethan's bravado crumbled, leaving behind a man who seemed small and lost. "I made mistakes," he admitted quietly. "I didn't know how to handle us." I felt a pang of something that resembled sympathy, but I quickly pushed it aside. "You need to understand, Ethan. This isn't about you anymore. It's about me finding my own way. I won't let your brokenness define my future." His eyes glistened with unshed tears, and for a moment, I saw a glimpse of the man he could have been had he chosen a different path. "Leora," I shook my head, cutting him off. "You need to find your own healing. I can't do that for you. I have to focus on myself now." As I turned to leave, I felt a sense of finality wash over me. This was it, the moment I chose my own freedom over the chains of our past. I stepped into the storm, the rain drenching me like a baptism, washing away the remnants of my old self. I was no longer bound to Ethan's shadow. Tonight marked the beginning of a new chapter, one where I would learn to embrace my strength and discover the woman I was meant to be. The echoes of our past would always linger, but they would no longer dictate my future. After my confrontation with Ethan, I found myself standing on the edge of a new beginning. I took a deep breath, letting the cool air fill my lungs as I thought about everything that had happened. The storm inside me had calmed, but I knew I had a long way to go. I needed to reflect on my experiences and the lessons I had learned throughout this journey. As I sat in my favorite coffee shop, the warm aroma of freshly brewed coffee surrounded me. I picked up my journal, the one I had started after finding those messages on Ethan's phone. Each page was filled with my thoughts, my pain, and my gradual transformation. I opened it to a blank page, ready to write about my next steps. "Hey, there you are!" Jasper's voice broke my concentration. He walked in, a bright smile on his face, and sat down across from me. "I hope I'm not interrupting your deep thoughts," I laughed softly, feeling lighter. Not at all. I was just trying to figure out how to build my life anew. Jasper leaned forward, his eyes sparkling with encouragement. That's great. What are you thinking of doing? I took a sip of my coffee, considering. I want to invest time in my passions. I've always loved painting, but I stopped after I got married. I think it's time to pick up the brush again. Absolutely, you should, Jasper said enthusiastically. Art is such a powerful way to express yourself. It can help you heal too. His words resonated with me. I realized that I had neglected my own happiness for too long. And what about us? I want to nurture our friendship too. You've been such a positive force in my life. Jasper smiled, his warmth filling the space. I feel the same way. We can support each other as we grow. I'm here for you, Leora. With his support, I felt a surge of determination. I decided I would dedicate my weekends to painting. I would transform my emotions into art, allowing the colors to express what I felt inside. I wanted to let go of the bitterness I had held onto for so long. As the days passed, I began to embrace self-love. I practiced looking in the mirror and saying kind things to myself instead of focusing on my flaws. You are strong. You are worthy, I would whisper, and each time it felt more real. One evening, I called Jasper to share my progress. I've started painting again, I told him excitedly. It feels incredible to create something beautiful. That's amazing, Leora. I knew you had it in you, Jasper replied, his voice filled with pride. What are you painting? I'm working on a piece that represents my journey. It has dark colors to show my past, but there are bright splashes of color emerging from it, I explained. That sounds powerful, he said. Art can be such a healing process. I can't wait to see it. His encouragement made me feel understood. I continued to paint, pouring my heart into each stroke, letting go of the anger I had felt towards Ethan. I realized that holding on to that resentment only hurt me. I wanted to forgive, not for him, but for myself. One afternoon, while I was painting, I paused and looked at my work. I saw a part of my old self, but also the new Leora rising from the darkness. I smiled, recognizing that my strength did not come from revenge. It came from my ability to rise above my past, to embrace who I was becoming. I picked up my phone and texted Jasper. I think I'm ready to let go of my bitterness. It's time to forgive Ethan, not because he deserves it, but because I do. He replied almost instantly. That's a huge step, Leora. I'm proud of you. Remember, forgiveness is for your peace. I felt a wave of relief wash over me. I was ready to move forward, to embrace my future without the weight of anger holding me back. I knew that healing would take time, but I was committed to the journey. As I continued to paint, I felt lighter, brighter. I was no longer defined by my past. My strength lay in my ability to forgive, to love myself, and to rise above everything I had endured. I was ready to step into the next chapter of my life, filled with hope and the promise of new beginnings. As I stood in front of the mirror, I barely recognized the woman staring back at me. Gone was the version of Leora who felt small and lost. Instead, I saw someone strong, someone who had fought through pain and emerged with a fire in her eyes. This was my moment of true victory. I took a deep breath and smiled. You did it, Leora. You really did it, I whispered to myself, feeling a wave of pride wash over me. The journey had been long and filled with challenges, but I had learned so much about myself. I was no longer defined by Ethan or the hurt he caused me. I was defined by my strength, my choices, and my happiness. That evening, I met Jasper at our favorite cafe. As I walked in, I spotted him at our usual table, a warm smile lighting up his face. He waved, and my heart fluttered. His support had been a beacon of light during my darkest days. Hey, Leora, you look amazing, Jasper said as I sat down. What's your secret? I laughed softly, feeling the warmth of his words wrap around me like a cozy blanket. I guess I just realized that I deserve to be happy. I've spent too long letting my past control me. Jasper leaned in, his eyes sparkling with curiosity. What changed? I took a moment to gather my thoughts. After confronting Ethan, I felt this weight lift off my shoulders. I realized that seeking revenge wouldn't fill the emptiness inside me. Instead, I needed to focus on healing and building the life I want. That's powerful, he said, nodding in agreement. You're not just surviving anymore, you're thriving. I can see it in the way you carry yourself. Thank you, Jasper. Your friendship has meant the world to me, I replied, feeling a warmth spread through me. You helped me see that true strength comes from within, not from a desire to hurt others. Our conversation flowed easily, and as we talked, I felt a sense of joy that I hadn't experienced in a long time. I was no longer trapped in the past. I was living in the present, embracing every moment. After a while, Jasper looked serious. Leora, have you thought about what's next for you? What do you really want? I paused, considering his words. I want to explore my passions. I want to paint again, travel, and maybe even help others who have gone through similar struggles. I want to inspire them to find their own strength. That sounds incredible, he said, a hint of admiration in his voice. You have so much to offer. I smiled, feeling a sense of purpose blossoming within me. It's time to live for myself. I want to love and be loved for who I truly am. As the sun began to set, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. I knew that the echoes of my past would always be a part of me, but they no longer held power over my future. I was ready to embrace the life I wanted, free from the chains of resentment and anger. Leora, no matter what happens, remember this. You are stronger than you think, Jasper said, breaking my thoughts. You've come so far, and I believe in you. Thank you, Jasper. Your belief in me means everything, I replied, my heart swelling with gratitude. I promise to keep moving forward and not let the past define me. As we finished our drinks, I felt a lightness in my heart. I was ready to step into the world with confidence, to embrace the unknown with open arms. I had learned that true victory wasn't about revenge. It was about finding joy, love, and purpose in my life. Walking out of the cafe, I felt the cool breeze on my face, a reminder that I was alive and free. The journey was just beginning, and I was excited to see where it would take me. The echoes of my past would always be there, but I was ready to write my own story, one filled with resilience, self-discovery, and happiness. Share this story if you believe that true strength comes from within and that healing is possible after heartbreak. Leave a comment about a moment when you discovered your own resilience, and subscribe for more inspiring tales like this one.